You're not going to believe this. Imagine spending hours outside in the freezing cold, shaping the perfect snowman, only to have your neighbor call the police on it. Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. And the craziest part? My snowman didn't just survive the complaint. It ended up on the evening news, turning into the weirdest neighborhood scandal you could ever imagine. Let me take you back to that day. It was one of those heavy winter mornings where snow covers everything in a soft, sparkling blanket. Kids were laughing, families were shoveling driveways, and me? I was determined to build a snowman like no other. Not just the usual two lumpy circles stacked together. No, I wanted something epic. A snowman with personality. I rolled 3 huge snowballs, stacked them perfectly, and carved out details with a small spade. I gave him a scarf, a carrot nose, pebble eyes, and even a goofy little grin. Honestly, he looked more alive than half the people in my apartment complex. By the time I was done, I was freezing, but man, was I proud. Neighbors walking by even stopped to take pictures. It felt like a small victory against the cold, something cheerful for everyone to enjoy. But not everyone saw it that way. Across the street lived the one person in the neighborhood who could turn anything fun into a problem. Yep, you guessed it. Karen. You know the type. Always peeking through blinds, always filing complaints about harmless things, always acting like she's the sheriff of the block. And when she spotted my snowman, she went full Karen mode. At first, I thought she was just staring in disapproval, like usual. But then, she actually walked over, hands on hips, that scowl on her face like my snowman had personally offended her existence. She asked me what I thought I was doing, blocking the sidewalk with obnoxious decorations. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. What happened next still blows my mind. She threatened to report the snowman to the police. I tried to reason with her. I told her it wasn't blocking anything, that kids loved it, that it was literally just snow. But Karen doesn't do reason. She stormed off, and within an hour I heard sirens. Yes, actual police cars. For a snowman. And trust me, this was just the beginning. When I first heard the sirens, I honestly thought they were passing through the neighborhood. But no, they stopped, right in front of my house. 2 officers stepped out, adjusting their hats, looking around like they'd been called to investigate a crime scene. Except, the only suspect was standing there, smiling with a carrot nose. I couldn't believe it. Was this real life? Were we actually doing this? The officers approached, calm but clearly confused themselves. One of them asked, "Sir, are you the one who built the snowman?" I almost laughed out loud, but I nodded. Then he explained, "We received a complaint from a resident saying it's obstructing the walkway." I looked at the snowman. He was sitting neatly in the yard, nowhere near the sidewalk. Kids could still pass by, joggers had plenty of space. It was all nonsense. I pointed this out, trying not to sound annoyed, but inside my blood was boiling. This was beyond ridiculous. Before I could explain further, she showed up. Karen. Marching over like she owned the block, holding her phone like it was a weapon. She started yelling about how the snowman was offensive, how it was unsafe, and even claimed it was attracting unwanted attention. Unwanted attention? Lady, it's a snowman, not a rock concert. The officers exchanged glances, trying hard not to roll their eyes. One of them inspected the snowman, circling it like it was evidence in a mystery show. Finally, he said, "Ma'am, this snowman isn't blocking anything. It's perfectly fine." That should have been the end of it. But of course, Karen wasn't satisfied. She argued. She raised her voice. She demanded they force me to tear it down. The officers remained polite, but you could tell they were done with the theatrics. They assured her no laws were being broken and politely told her to calm down. That's when she snapped. She screamed that if the police wouldn't do their job, she would take it higher. And, trust me, she meant it. She stormed off again, muttering something about calling the news station. At that moment, I laughed it off. No way a news station would care about a snowman, right? Wrong. because the very next day, I'd find out she actually called them. And not only that, she somehow convinced them this was a story worth covering. Little did I know, my snowman was about to become famous. The next morning, I stepped outside expecting a normal day. The snow was still fresh, my snowman still proudly smiling, scarf blowing in the breeze. But then, I noticed something unusual, a white van pulling up with big letters on the side. Local News 7. I froze. No way. She actually did it. Karen had called the news. Out climbed a cameraman, a reporter in a bright red coat, and another crew member hauling equipment. My neighbors started gathering too, whispering and pointing. Within minutes, it felt like a small crowd had formed, all eyes locked on my snowman. The reporter introduced herself with a big TV smile. "Hi, we're here covering a rather unique neighborhood dispute. Can you tell us about your snowman?" I wanted to laugh, but instead, I explained calmly how I'd built it for fun, how kids loved it, and how I thought it was just a cheerful winter decoration. As I spoke, the cameraman panned across the snowman like it was some kind of celebrity. Honestly, I half expected them to put dramatic music behind it. Then, of course, Karen showed up, like she'd been waiting for her big debut. She marched into the frame, arms crossed, declaring how the snowman was a public hazard and an eyesore. The reporter's smile didn't even waver. She clearly knew this was TV gold. Karen went on and on, accusing me of seeking attention by building something so outlandish. Outlandish? It was literally 3 snowballs stacked together. At one point, she even claimed the snowman was intimidating children. Funny, because 3 kids were right there taking selfies with it. The best part? The reporter didn't hide the irony. She turned to the camera and said, "Well, viewers, it seems this snowman has sparked more controversy than anyone expected. Some see it as fun, others as a nuisance. What do you think?" By that evening, the segment aired. And when I tell you it blew up, I mean it. My phone lit up with texts. "Dude, I just saw your snowman on TV." The clip was shared online, memes started popping up, and suddenly, my snowman wasn't just local news, it was viral news. I had accidentally become the snowman guy. But here's the kicker. Going viral didn't solve the problem. It only made Karen angrier. And when Karen gets angrier, well, let's just say she wasn't about to let my 15 minutes of fame slide without a fight. By the time my snowman went viral, I thought the whole thing was finally settling into a funny memory. People were laughing, neighbors were supportive, and even strangers online were cheering me on. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that a Karen doesn't give up. The morning after the broadcast, I woke up to shouting outside. I peeked through the blinds, and what did I see? Karen. Again. But this time, she wasn't just yelling at me. She had a clipboard, a bullhorn, and 3 friends standing beside her, holding signs. Yes, she organized a protest against my snowman. The signs read things like, "Snow-free streets," and "Say no to ice obstructions." I nearly choked on my coffee. A full-blown picket line. Over a snowman. Neighbors came outside to watch, some laughing, others filming with their phones. The protest lasted all of 10 minutes, before the crowd doubled only. Not in Karen's favor. People who had seen the viral clip actually drove by to take pictures with my snowman, cheering and honking their horns. Suddenly, Karen's protest was drowned out by supporters waving, kids giggling, and people asking me if they could get selfies with the famous snowman. It was absolute chaos, like my front yard had turned into Times Square. And then, the cherry on top. Another news van showed up. This time, they weren't here for Karen's complaints. They were here for the viral sensation. The reporter interviewed fans, parents, even a dog owner who said their pup loved the snowman. Karen tried to force her way into the interview, but the reporter brushed her off, focusing on the joy the snowman had brought. By the end of the week, the snowman wasn't just a decoration, it had become a landmark. People left scarves, hats, and little notes around it, like it was some kind of frozen celebrity shrine. Karen, meanwhile, finally reached her breaking point. One night, she tried to sneak across the street with a shovel, planning to take care of it herself. But the second she started swinging, neighbors caught her in the act. Phones out, cameras rolling. The footage of her trying to destroy the snowman went even more viral than the original story. She became the internet's newest meme. Snowman Slayer Karen. As for me, I didn't have to lift a finger. My snowman stayed standing tall until the weather finally took it down naturally. But by then, it didn't matter. The legend was already alive. All I did was build a snowman. Karen turned it into a national spectacle. And honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better ending. Enjoying this wild neighborhood snowman saga? Tap that subscribe button for more unbelievable real-life stories. And hey, drop a comment below. Would you have defended the snowman or sided with Karen?